When the news of Diane Keaton's death spread, millions mourned, but no one's reaction stunned the world more than Keanu Reeves's. At a tribute event in Los Angeles, he stood before the crowd, visibly trembling, his voice breaking as he whispered, "She knew, even when I couldn't say it." That sentence alone shattered years of silence, hinting that something far deeper than friendship once existed between them. Keanu's grief was raw, unguarded. For a man who'd spent his life avoiding gossip and headlines, this was something different. He wasn't just mourning a colleague. He was revealing a truth long buried in the quiet corners of Hollywood. Diane wasn't just a friend, he said softly, eyes downcast. She was the one person who really saw me, when the world only saw the actor. He recalled how they'd met during the filming of a romantic comedy years ago. Between takes, Diane had teased him about his seriousness, calling him the philosopher trapped in an action star's body. He laughed then, but later admitted she was right. She saw the loneliness I carried, and she never judged it. That bond became something sacred, a quiet refuge in an industry that often consumed souls. Rumors of their closeness had floated for years, yet neither confirmed nor denied them. Keanu now admitted what fans always suspected. What we had wasn't a romance in the way people expect. It was love, pure and patient. She gave me light when all I knew was loss. The hall went still as those words hung heavy in the air. He spoke of the nights they'd stay up talking about life, aging, and art. How Diane's laughter could pull him out of any darkness. She reminded me that even broken people can be beautiful, he said, voice cracking. And I was one of them. In that moment, the crowd saw not a movie star, but a man who had finally lost the one soul who understood him completely. Keanu paused for a long moment, his eyes fixed on Diane's smiling photo behind him. When he finally spoke again, his voice was softer, like he was speaking directly to her. "You told me once that love isn't about being together," he said. "It's about being brave enough to care when it hurts." Those words, he admitted, guided him through every heartbreak, every lonely night when the world expected him to be unshakable. He shared how Diane would call him late at night just to make sure he'd eaten, or to send him old jazz songs she loved. She had this way of making silence feel safe, he said. No pressure, no expectations, just presence. The audience listened, completely silent, as he painted a picture of two souls connected by quiet affection, never needing labels or promises. Keanu confessed that Diane once told him, "You'll never marry Keanu. You love too deeply for it to survive fame." He smiled through tears, admitting she was right. "She knew my heart better than I did," he said. "Maybe that's why I never tried to replace her." "How could I?" His honesty disarmed everyone in the room. It wasn't scandal, it was sincerity. Their connection, he said, was built on small gestures, coffee shared in silence, letters exchanged between film sets, a single rose left on his doorstep on the anniversary of his late fiancé's death. "That was Diane," he whispered, always knowing what to do without needing words. The hall filled with soft sniffles as he fought to keep his composure. When he finally looked up, Keanu's eyes glistened with both grief and gratitude. "If there's one thing I regret," he said, "it's not telling her sooner how much she meant to me." But maybe she always knew. The audience rose in quiet applause, not for the star before them, but for the man brave enough to show his heart at last. As the applause faded, Keanu took a deep breath, gripping the microphone like it was the only thing keeping him standing. "People always asked why I never settled down," he began, voice trembling. "The truth is, I did. My heart settled with her. It just wasn't the kind of love you see in movies." His confession drew a collective gasp, the kind that comes when truth hits harder than fiction ever could. He spoke of their last conversation just months before her passing. "She laughed about getting old," he said, a faint smile flickering across his face. "I told her she'd never age, not in spirit. She said, 'Then promise me you'll keep smiling for both of us.' I didn't realize she was saying goodbye." The weight of those words pressed heavy on everyone listening. Keanu described how Diane's wisdom shaped him, not as an actor, but as a man. She taught me that kindness is louder than fame, that love doesn't need to be declared to be real. His voice cracked again, but he continued. Diane lived her truth fearlessly. She was never afraid to love out loud. I was. His honesty felt like a wound, finally being allowed to heal. Then he revealed something that stunned everyone. A letter Diane had written him years ago, which he found tucked inside one of her old books after she died. In it she'd written, "You'll never lose me, Keanu. Love like ours doesn't end, it just changes rooms." His voice broke as he read it aloud, and the hall filled with quiet sobs. Closing his eyes, he whispered, "I used to think I didn't deserve happiness after everything I lost. But she proved me wrong. Diane made me believe again. For the first time in years." Keanu Reeves smiled, not as an actor, not as a grieving man, but as someone who'd finally found peace in the truth he'd carried for so long. The hall remained silent as Keanu stepped away from the microphone, his eyes distant, his heart laid bare for the world to see. "She used to tell me that love is the only thing that survives us," he said, turning back one last time toward her portrait. "And now I finally understand. She's gone, but she's everywhere, every sunset, every laugh, every small act of kindness." His voice trembled but carried warmth. Instead of sorrow, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver ring. "Diane gave me this after our first film together," he explained. "She said, it's not a promise. It's a reminder to stay soft in a hard world. I've worn it ever since." He held the ring up, and for a moment even the cameras seemed to pause in reverence. The crowd watched him not as a movie icon, but as a man who still loved quietly, deeply, eternally. Keanu continued, "People think Hollywood breaks you. Maybe it does. But Diane, she built me back up piece by piece with laughter and honesty. She never let me forget that I was more than my pain." His eyes shimmered as he spoke, each word a fragile tribute. "She believed love was energy. It never dies, it just changes form. So I'll keep her alive that way." He stepped closer to the photo of Diane and placed a white rose beneath it. "Thank you," he whispered, "for loving me when I didn't love myself." The crowd rose to their feet, clapping softly, not for fame or performance, but for truth. Keanu bowed his head, a tear sliding down his cheek, but his lips carried the faintest, most peaceful smile. As he walked off the stage, the lights dimmed and her image glowed brighter behind him. The world finally understood. This wasn't a celebrity confession. It was a love story told too late, but lived completely. In the quiet that followed, one thing became clear. Keanu Reeves didn't just lose Diane Keaton. He lost the part of his heart that taught him how to love again.